Hey guys, this is going to be a response video to a comment that was left in one of the videos in the last couple of days. And I'll put it up on the screen, but basically it says, can you make a video about a hurting situation when your relatives or friends who've known you for decades believe the narc's lies and turn against you? The 50 shades of disappointment and pain when you try to say something and they won't even listen. When will all these losses have an end? You can work hard and replace a bank account, but a loving relationship damaged by the narc can never be replaced. Well, it's a good question, and I think this is something that probably most of us have dealt with. Excuse me, whenever your friends turn against you. And the tough and obvious part about this is the loss is pretty damn hard. And everything associated with this is tough. I mean, you're losing time, you're losing money, you're losing your future, you're losing time with your kids, you have your friends' relationships. Some people even have family relationships that get destroyed in all this. And all of those things add up into just a toxic mess that really makes it hard to move forward. And I'm gonna hit at the end of this video my philosophy on what I think a lot of this crap stems from. You might agree with me, you might not, but it's kind of the way I've approached this. I've mentioned it in some videos, but not a lot. But bottom line, and I have made videos about this in the past, you have to let the person figure it out on their own. What this person was saying is, they won't even listen. And what I've found in my personal experience and in dealing with other people is whenever you are actively trying to convince somebody who is under the spell that they're wrong, it doesn't really work out well. It actually hurts you more. And typically what happens is people tend to then kind of believe what the narcissist is saying and thinking, oh wow, you are damaged, you are over emotional, you are whatever that picture that they painted of you is. One little caveat on that, what I'll say is, whenever you're in a situation like this, if you can, try to take a step back and really think about what exactly does this person, the person who's targeting you, what is their fundamental opinion on what they think you are, right? I mean, do they think you're angry? Do they think you're over emotional? Do they think you're disorganized? Do they think that you're scatterbrained? Do they think, what is their narrative that they're trying to say? And the reason I say that is because if you can key into that, then you can actively make decisions to demonstrate that that's not the case. What really happens is, which is tough, is you're being slandered by your narcissistic ex, and they are saying something about you, and then you go in defense mode, and your default reaction is to do exactly those things, right? I mean, if in my situation, if the ex is saying that I'm an angry person, and then I go to someone and I'm just getting mad and angry, and they can see it, they're like, oh wow, man, he's got anger management issues. Probably should take a class for that. That's really important. I've used that technique in work as well, and this is one of those things that it's good to know, but think about what exactly it is they're trying to get you to do so that you can do the opposite to try to demonstrate what is really going on. The key part on that is you can't tell somebody something, you have to show them. Right? So if your narcissistic ex is turning people against you and saying you're a certain way, well, as soon as you do anything that matches up with that illusion, you're in a bad spot. One of the other things I did mention earlier is and this goes with family members, with friends, with coworkers, with kids, doesn't matter who, if they are under the narcissistic spell and if they have basically, they've sided with Team Narc. When people have a vested interest in anything, they're loyal to that. And anybody who attacks it, typically you go into that defense mode and you shut down and you go completely into, you're wrong. Guys, it happens on political stuff, on sports teams, on anything, cars, I mean, you name it, cameras, you name it. If someone's got a religious type view on it and a narcissistic personality type kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Basically fosters that type of mentality. If you go in and you're starting to go into attack mode, they're going to shut down and really like doubled down on who they sided with. I've actually seen that, and I've actually had that happen with me. There's been a few things in the past where I've done had some conversations, and I could tell like, oh crap, my point on this is not, they're not getting it. I'm feeding right into the story that's happening. A good example of that, just as a side note, was that first year whenever, I know I've told the story, and for the long time viewers of this channel, that during that first Christmas, whenever the ex had the kids, she basically decided, I am leaving the state, and, sucks to be you. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, court order says I can see the kids. When I first was, during all this time, I knew none of this stuff. I was just flying by the seat of my pants, doing the best I could do, making a lot of mistakes, and then having to recover from them. But one mutual friend who I was talking with about this completely sided with her. It's like, well, why can't you let her go? Why are you being like that? I'm like, one, it's in the court order, which is not a great argument, right? Because that's like, well, you're just being a dick. And the other part of it was, so I had to basically back off and said, look, here's the big picture on the whole thing. It was the first year that the kids, well, it was the first year of the divorce, the first year of the Christmas holiday or the holidays. I actually got the kids for Christmas. That was bizarre. Whatever, different story, another video. Anyways, excuse me. And that person initially was like, well, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you just let her go? You get Christmas next year. The thing was, the kids were really upset about it. They didn't really want to do it. And to be perfectly honest, getting a little off track, had the kids basically said, hey daddy, I want to go there, and really been pushing me on it, it would have been a tougher sell. Anyways, my point is in that example, I was validating what the ex was saying about me by the way I was saying it and whatever. It was like, well, you're just being a jerk, and you're just, you're being a butthead because you can. And I was like, that's my point. Oftentimes they say things to everybody, including your family and friends, to try to turn them against you. And if you do something that fits in with it, that creates a problem. So I just wanted to keep that in mind. That's the dynamic that you're dealing with. Bottom line, you have to let the person figure it out on their own. Right? If they ask you questions, you can have a reasonable conversation with them. Just be careful that you don't get baited into going down the pit of hell. But the thing is, you don't want to be in the game of trying to convince somebody what the other person is. If they are truly a narcissistic, toxic personality type, they're going to do it themselves, right? These people are great at manipulation and subtle put downs and all that kind of crap. But if you can be a steady rock, and they can be, and I know I've done this before in old videos, and they could be like, freaking out, it's going to demonstrate itself. But if you both are basically, then it's going to create problems. Let them torpedo themselves and give that person the time to figure it out. Okay, so here's the sad reality of it. Sometimes those people aren't going to come back. Sometimes they will side for a long time. You will get some will look at it and go, wait a minute, this isn't right. This story doesn't make sense. But you have to let it play out and let them come to their own realization. And bottom line is I hate to say this, but on a positive note with this, a lot of this, what it does is it really shows you who your true loyal friends and family are, who really is going to back you, and who's going to turn on you. And the sad part about this is, well, I think it's a positive part about this, like I just said, is that you learn who those people are, and you can phase out the ones that aren't really good for you. And sometimes that's family. As you guys know, in my situation, I've done that in a couple of situations in my own story. And it's even acquaintances and friends. I have phased people out of my life, which I don't have a lot of people in my life, but there are people who I was just talking to someone about this earlier today, that I've been able to take a step back, and it's like, this person does not bring anything other than chaos and stress and put downs in my life, and I choose not to hang out with them anymore. And that's it's hard, especially whenever you had this big, let's say you had this big support group, and now that's, of X amount of people, and now it's whittled down to a couple. That's really tough. and it's not really a fun situation. And I absolutely get that. I don't know if you guys can hear that beeping noise, but hopefully it'll stop here in a second and not just keep going, because that would be annoying. Oh, it just stopped. Good. Anyways, all right, so this gets into Duane's philosophy on what I think is going on. Now, hopefully I don't lose you on this, but just bear with me. And personally, I believe in life lessons. I think a lot of things happen to try to teach us something. I mean, on even a more spiritual side of it, you know, you could look at it that it's a journey to get to where you're ultimately going to go. Sometimes I think that this whole life thing that we're dealing with is like going to school, and whenever we make mistakes, like picking the wrong person to marry, you know, it's kind of like if you fail a grade and you have to go back. So I think for me personally, the biggest life lesson on this has been to learn to let go, learn to understand what I can control, and learn to understand what's important. I've seen a lot of people in my personal life, on this channel, just across the board, where that is a huge factor in all this. It's like you get so wrapped up and you're like, this is the way things are going to be. And these situations happen and your whole world is rocked. And it's kind of a test. It's like, how are you going to deal with it? I mean, I've talked about this before in older videos where I could have easily stayed bitter and angry and had this corrupt my entire life. That could have been my choice. And I fought really hard to make my peace with this. And when I say really hard, it was really hard to get to the point where I am today, to where I've been able to let things go and things don't bother me, and things that used to really stress me out and get me uptight and get me upset, don't anymore. There are still some things that still get under my skin. I mean, I'm not going to, I'm not a monk or something. Anyways, so I think that's one thing to think about on this is you're learning to have better boundaries. You're learning to pick people better. You're learning to allow and disallow certain people into your lives. And I think all of those things are really important. And that's why I've often said that I think a lot of times, although these situations are incredibly painful, it just the worst brutal crap that a human could go through, the opposite end of this, or once you get to the other side, it really changes your life in a positive way, because you fundamentally change how you're approaching things. And guys, I mean, honestly, if you look at everything in your life, I mean, even from school, everything is to get you to the next level and move it up. And I think that these situations have an opportunity to actually be a catalyst to move us in a better direction. I hope that didn't completely sound crazy. Would love to hear your opinion on it, what you think, if you think I've lost my mind, or if it makes sense to you. On that, if you like this channel, if you think that it's helpful for you, please consider subscribing. Hit the bell notification so that YouTube will actually tell you about videos. If you want to check out, or if you're new to the whole thing, I would recommend checking out the playlist for Mindset for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery, which is kind of my primer starter playlist that boils down the 500 videos down to like 40 some odd videos to really kind of just hit the key points. So if you're new, consider checking that out. If you're having a relapse on things, it's a good idea to check that out as well. The other video is one that YouTube has recommended specifically for you because of your searches. So check it out. It might be relevant to you. And on that, I will chat with you on the next video. Take care. Bye.